Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Lee Cantor here with Katie Galley and my co-host today, Scott Luton. This is another episode of Supply Chain Now Radio, and it is filled with the best and the brightest.
It absolutely is, and it is time for Supply Chain Now Radio, sponsored by Apex Atlanta and Talent Stream. Broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the East Coast, Atlanta, Georgia, Supply Chain Now Radio spotlights the best in all things supply chain, the people, the companies, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day.
All right, we're going to kick it off with Scott Luton, who's the Executive Vice President with Apex Atlanta. Apex is the leading industry association dedicated to end-to-end supply chain management. Welcome, Scott. And you brought a bunch of heavy hitters today.
We sure did. We've got another all-star ensemble cast. We got leadership team members from Newton County, which is the Hollywood of the South. Did you know that, Lee?
Did not.
Trademarked, which makes it official, but no, we got a great conversation teed up. Newton County is about 30 minutes east of Atlanta. About 106,000 people live in Newton County, and they're doing some really neat things, very progressive things in Newton County to make business happen. So, and a lot to do with supply chain. So we've got a great show. We want to welcome Mayor Ronnie Johnston with the city of Covington. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, sir.
We've got Chairman Marcello Baines, Board of Commissioners, Newton County. Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning, sir.
We've got Commissioner Lanier Sims, District 2, Board of Commissioners with Newton County. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And we have Dave Byrne, VP of Economic Development for Newton County. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Scott.
All right. So no shortage of topics to talk here, Lee, but we want to tee things off, really getting some commentary around this notion of 1 Newton. So I want to kick off with Chairman Baines. Let's talk about 1 Newton and why that's so important and why that's been a driving factor to really tee up all the success we've seen in Newton County.
Thank you, Scott. To me, 1 Newton, when I first came into office back in 2016, there was, to me, a lot of success going on in the community with the different cities in the community, Covington to stand out. But I thought that it would be good if the county and the cities could actually come together and start working together as one. I thought things would be done more efficiently, and I thought things would we could do things at a greater pace. And so it was a lot of
friction.
A lot of friction going on at that time. And one of the reasons that I believe that I was elected was because I wanted to bring unity in our community. And so we had a few meetings, and I after one meeting I went home and I thought about it, and I said, well, I think I want to try to push 1 Newton. And at the next meeting I kind of threw it out there and see how people would feel about it, and I actually got no pushback.
So does no pushback mean they like the idea?
You know what? I don't know if it's they like the idea more than they was ready to work with, work together.
Because collaboration's critical, right?
Yeah. Collaboration is very critical to me for a community.
That's what community means.
That's right. It does. And so, I threw it out there. Different mayors kind of latched on to it, and we've been pushing, trying to work together ever since. I found a great friend in the city of Covington, Mayor Johnston, and we've been working together and doing things together. We got this little thing. I'll let him bring it out. Salt and pepper, actually. I'm salt and he's pepper. And so we've been working together, and actually 1 Newton is catching on. But as you know, it takes time for any new kind of change to come. But actually, it's been going very well.
So in the warm-up conversation, we're talking just that collaboration, the kindred spirits. So shifting over, same question to Mayor Johnston. This notion of 1 Newton that Chairman Baines is talking about, how critical was that to realizing all the success we've seen and what's to come?
When you look back, I became mayor in 2012. I didn't really have a county to work with at that point in time until the new chairman came along. And the fact that when you look at our entire community and what we're trying to do, and we're trying to put new infrastructure in, we're trying to put opportunities for everybody in our community. It's extremely important when you have a partner that you can actually work with for the common good of the whole community. I mean, collaboration's a term used quite often, but it's not real easy to do. And the fact that you have a county government working with a city government for the common good of our entire community, it's a big deal. And I think it transcends through our entire community, not only with our citizens, but our business partners as well, because they see that as well. And it's
not lip service.
Absolutely not. There is challenges that come up every day. And the fact that we are working together gives us the ability to have a better, quicker, and a better solution for their businesses, for the citizens. And I believe personally, that's one of the things that has set us completely apart from a lot of other communities is we are one. And we are trying to move the agenda forward for the common good of the whole community.
And the government's not an obstacle for business. It's actually a huge force for making business, a huge complementary resource for making business happen, right?
Well, it's an interesting statement because I know all three of us, or actually four of us that are here today, we've kind of all come from the business backgrounds. When I first became mayor, the incredible red tape, the rules, the regulations, all that stuff. And our whole focus has been, we want to be a city that is one step ahead of business. That's a big statement because usually government's way behind. And if anything, government's accused of slowing down business and opportunities. But what we really do try to stay one step ahead and be our true partners for their success. And there are stories in our community where I believe there's current industry that would no longer be there if it weren't for the efforts that we took with them to help them be competitive, help them make sure they can make their margins and their targets, because they're part of our family. And without them, we don't have jobs, we don't have opportunity for our people. So it all comes back to the same thing. So I'll probably repeat that a bunch, and I apologize ahead of time for that.
We want opportunity for all. So, Commissioner Sims, let's talk about One Newton from your perspective. How important is that?
Well, first of all, I think both the chairman and mayor kind of summed it up pretty well. And when I think about the community, I guess one of the biggest things is working together. Our community has not always worked together, especially the city and the county. A lot of times it's even within those boards we don't work together. And tying that all together back with the citizens and helping to bring jobs to the community, I think is where we're headed. When I think about One Newton, I think about a famous quote. I think about a quote from Napoleon Hill that says, it is true that you can succeed best and quickest by helping others to succeed. So I think we're moving down the right path. For me, it's been a great 8 years to see us go from not working together to working together to now having a chairman and a mayor working together to bring a One Newton, bring us all together.
Yeah, fresh breath of fresh air, seems like.
Definitely.
Yeah, with results.
Definitely.
And we're going to talk about some of those results now. Because if you've had your head in a hole somewhere and haven't understood what's going on in Newton County over the last several years, huge home run successes. First one we were talking about in the warm-up conversation is Shire, right? So Shire, $1 billion investment at Stanton Springs, 1 million square foot manufacturing facility on 160 acres, and they're currently hiring 900 people. Wow. So let's talk about, what did Shire see in Newton County beyond this fabric, this collaborative fabric and this breath of fresh air? What else did they find in Newton County that led them to make that sizable investment?
I guess I'll try to answer that.
Mayor
because this did happen in 2012, I believe. It's actually kind of a funny story. I was sworn in January of 2012. My very first council meeting, they asked me to approve a sewer line for Baxter at the time, which was Shire. And I didn't have any idea what I was doing or what the implications of that was. But that was the last issue, evidently, for them to say yes.
Wow.
And so it's kind of interesting. But that opportunity it's just opened up so many other doors because, you are correct. They're getting ready to hire 900. They've already got 600, I think, already employed. So this has been going on for 5 years in our community. That just opened up a whole host of opportunities for our community. And to this day, we're still learning what that is. At times we're not real sure. And then we see the value of what's going on, not only in that part, but how it's affected our entire community.
Yep. So I want to put Dave Burns on the spot here because I want to talk about from an infrastructure standpoint, from a proximity standpoint. Clearly, workforce, government's working in our favor. Talk more about Shire, what they saw from a transportation standpoint, rail, interstate. What else were some of those factors that led to such a massive investment?
If you take a look at Shire and them coming forward, it really is a collaborative effect of what is called the Innovation Crescent here in City of Atlanta, which is 15 counties that have come together to drive biopharma tech industries into the region. Being able to utilize marketing skills of 15 separate counties that and quite frankly were much more advanced than Newton County at the time, and allowing Newton County to participate in that allowed us to bring a Shire to the state of Georgia, bring that to the state of Georgia, and then within those 15 counties, one of the things that Newton County does bring to the game is a fair amount of developable land, which was located right on Interstate 20. Shire does not use any rail as we sit here today.
What Mayor Johnston said earlier about this group here all comes from business. It's really neat because I know Dave is a former manufacturing executive with Kimberly-Clark, and to have that kind of expertise as you land business like this is probably pretty valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to understand the thought process in the boardrooms of Fortune 100 company is definitely an advantage as you come to the dark side of the table.
So, Mayor, you want to add one more thing?
Well, I do want to recognize the fact. I think it's important that the state of Georgia's role in that initial their choosing Newton County was big, and part of that was with the Quick Start program. I believe the state built a approximately $13 million training center, which that in itself for our entire community, I've said this ever since it was done, is bigger almost than Baxter, because that facility is not just for Baxter. That is in the park. So it can be multiply used by several different companies. Wow. So it's just the beginning of many exciting times for our community.
Now, is that where the public-private partnerships really can kind of blossom and create opportunity, where if you have politicians that come from a business background that kind of understand, like you said, the other side of the table and can see things kind of with a higher level of empathy because they were in those chairs, and they can see, you know what, if this area had this kind of a training center, this would be a magnet, this could be used in a multitude of ways. Then you have to convince the constituents to really understand and appreciate the leverage that has. And then, but once that's in place, then it kind of opens doors, and then that's kind of creates where that's the first domino that falls. And now you're having a lot of conversations, and a lot of big companies are coming, and a lot of jobs are created, and everybody wins.
To prove your point, we have two great examples. One is the Quick Start program, and then when you look at the filming industry, what the state has done. So that's why I kind of wanted to say without that partnership from the state, we would have a bigger struggle. But that's what makes Georgia as a whole. That's right. And we are just a pretty progressive community that is really partnering well with that and taking advantage, and then taking them to the next level as far as our community as a whole.
So Georgia means business, and as we say in each one of these shows, number one state to do business in for 5 years in a row. So I think we said that was Ric Flair territory yesterday, Lee, in the show. But so Shire clearly we take creative license. We talk about supply chain. This show's a little different than some of our other shows, but supply chain makes it happen. So to for Shire, hiring 900 people and having 1 million square feet of manufacturing space, that's a huge supply chain commitment. And they're currently hiring, I guess, 60 available positions in supply chain. Yes. So we'll talk more about workforce in a second. But moving forward, so Shire is a huge win. We could dedicate hours to Shire. But let's talk about BD, Becton Dickinson, which acquired C.R. Bard. And that's important because Bard's global medical device division is headquartered in Covington, where they employ 700 professionals. So, and we've seen a lot of growth there as well. And the acquisition will provide more fuel for growth, I imagine. Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot more. So BD is huge. And then, anyone heard of a little company called Facebook? In the pre-show notes, I read $42 billion investment. I said, it can't be billion. It's probably $42 million investment. No, Facebook is investing $42 billion in Newton County. So let's talk about that win. Huge win. First phase is $700 million, right, in investment. What pulls Facebook? What maybe is more unique that pulled Facebook to Newton County?
And how are they going to spend $42 billion? What are they buying?
I was getting ready to say, it's not cheap to come to Newton County.
Wow.
But, first off, I do want to highlight the fact that it really helps your political career when you can go around and say, you've landed Facebook. I'm even cool with my kids now. But I do think there's a whole lot of reasons we can go into from infrastructure standpoint to the land aspect and the I-20 aspect. But this is we count our blessings in Covington and Newton County, and this is another step in a direction that we have been planning and moving toward for many years. But, some of these things come down to things like, when I say infrastructure, I'm talking water. They're a big user of water.
Fiber, right?
Fiber, water. There's a lot of different energies. One of the things that they've chose us, not just Newton County, but even the electricity was from a solar standpoint because they're a very green company. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we were able to address those issues, we've been planning that for years. We want to be in that position. And a lot of people, and it's interesting because in Covington, there's a lot of people that can't believe some of the stuff's happening. It almost blows their mind. But but there has been leadership in positions that have been planning for this for decades.
Mm-hmm. So if this note here is right, largest single user of electricity in Georgia is going to be this Facebook campus.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes,
Holy
sir.
cow. That puts it in perspective. And from a jobs perspective, what are we looking to create there?
I believe it's over a period of time. And this $42 billion investment is over a 20 some odd year period of time. But we're looking toward anywhere, I think it's about 1,000 to 1,200 employment opportunities.
But that goes to speak about the change in how employment happens in technology firms, right?
Absolutely.
Because like $42 billion, 50 years ago would have been thousands and tens of thousands of jobs, right?
No, you're 100%.
But today, $42 billion is 1,000 jobs.
Yeah, but they're really good thousands.
Right.
It's one of those things that, because you're correct. You look at some, car manufacturers, a lot more jobs, but they're very quality jobs.
Right.
One of the things we purposely are trying to do in our community is have a diversity of jobs.
Right.
That anyone or any person, and whatever their desire is, could have a career and to be able to move forward with their life. So,
again, Shire, BD, Facebook, and this manufacturing business wasn't new to Newton County. I mean, in the Shimbo and General Mills, you've had many other companies. Clarion Metals, I've got some experience with in Newton County, doing good business, growing. But these are huge recent wins. And then let's kind of take a right hand turn. Entertainment industry, the Hollywood of the South here in Covington, right? The county seat. So for those that didn't know, the entertainment industry, $2.7 billion of direct spend in Georgia in 2017 and growing. And it's not new in Newton County. I mean, shows like Vampire Diaries, Heat of the Night, Goosebumps 2, Selma, Remember the Titans, all those filmed in Newton County. In fact, they were telling me a plane was landed on the Covington Square.
Yes, it was.
Right?
Yes, it was.
So what, again, I hate to say the same question over and over again, but why Newton County for entertainment?
Well, there is a great history of filming in Newton County. And the thing that we've done in our community is we have just to have the foresight, for example, to trademark the Hollywood of the South was, I don't know who did it exactly, but it was brilliant because at the time it was probably considered that's kind of crazy. Why y'all doing that? But the fact now that we've expanded this industry, because we look at it like it's just another industry. And when you look at the job opportunities, because it really all comes back to what opportunities is it going to afford our community and afford our high school kids and the kids that one of the great things is not only do we have a diversity of jobs, but they're cool jobs. Facebook and now, movies, and literally you can be on our square and there's people that are coming there to see if they can see an actor and all those kind of things. So there's an excitement about it, and it's a great community builder as far as that goes. But what's interesting is when you really dive down into the jobs, then you start getting into the logistics and the training and the technical part of it. And so when we're looking and working with that process, because one of our goals in our community is to have zero unemployment.
Zero unemployment,
zero.
And eradicate
and that means,
poverty.
And we want to eradicate all poverty. Well, we're no different than some other communities. We got our issues, we got our challenges, but we're actually very serious about those two things. And, when you look at the employment aspect of it, in 2012, we were close to 13, and right now we're at 3.7. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's what, how many years? 6, maybe?
Y'all moving at light speed. That's terrific.
Yeah. We so that's encouraging. But when you start looking at the poverty issue, and I apologize, I don't want to get totally, because I can get buried in that whole issue. Because I spent 2 or 3 years trying to figure that out, because it's not an easy issue. And we've got generations of that. And so what we really tried to figure out different tools and aspects. And one of them obviously was the LEAP program through Georgia Tech, because that gave us the ability. We had some kids that for whatever reason made choices, bad choices, all sorts of different things, didn't finish high school. And so, if I'm sitting here spouting off, I want to eradicate poverty and all these things, you got to figure out how to deal with that. You can't just ignore it, because it's life. And so this tool gave us an opportunity to give those kids a certificate that opens up these doors.
From Georgia Tech, which is one of the leading world-class supply chain institutions. We're going to talk a lot more about the LEAP program in just a second. But for those of you, I can hear my mom thinking now, this is Supply Chain Now radio show, Scott. What are you doing talking about Hollywood of the South? But entertainment is supply chain, right? We learned this morning, 3 Ring Studios, which we want to dive into in just a second. Huge win there for Newton County. 300,000 square foot warehouse that we're rented. 3 Ring Studios is renting to make their operations happen, to make production happen. And all the planning, all the supplies, all the resources, the workforce it takes to operate on a Hollywood level. I mean, that is supply chain at its arguably best. So 3 Ring Studios, Mayor and Chairman Baines and Commissioner Sims, I don't want to keep the conversation here, but Mayor, you were talking about a story where the founders of 3 Ring Studios flew into Newton County, a father-son, and you're telling, share more about that experience, which kind of gave its the genesis behind the later investment.
Well, we had a great opportunity. I give Mr. Burns credit for even setting it up, because I had really no idea what I was walking into, and I've heard him say that makes me better at times. But we walked into this opportunity.
Getting a big thumbs up from Dave there.
And Raheem and BC, his dad, Ronnie from American Fueling Systems, sat down with us, and it's the first time I met them. Shook their hands. Great people, have done some incredible things. Luckily for me, his dad wanted to do something in Covington. And it was funny because Raheem was like, he didn't want to do nothing.
At least he told you.
Yeah, he did. That was one of the great things. And so he sat down and basically said that. And then he looked at me and said, so what says you? And for the next, I think, 45 minutes, I gave my sales pitch about Covington, about what we're doing. And long story short, he got up and shook my hand and said, we're coming to Covington. And we're going to build a movie studio. One of the blessings is Raheem is one of those guys, when he says he's going to build a movie studio, it's going to be the biggest in the world. It's going to be the best in the world.
Right here in Newton County.
Right here in Newton County. Well, of course, I run back to Covington and I get at home and I tell my wife this story, and she's like, please don't go out in public and start talking about that because people are going to think you've really lost your mind.
It's only here between us.
Yeah. So, but long story short, it's actually going vertical right now. I've actually personally been to LA a couple times with Raheem, and the excitement, even from LA to what's going on in Georgia, the next 5 years are going to be some exciting times for Covington.
So what turned the tide? What changed his mind?
Well, I truly believe, and I believe he would actually say this if he was sitting here, it wasn't a financial decision totally for them. It was a decision on he fell in love with what our community is trying to do. When you start talking to people and they really buy into what you're saying as far as we are going to eradicate poverty and we are going.
So the impact in the community was greater than maybe the dollars in the sense
he wanted to be a part of that movement.
Right.
And that's when it goes back to what the chairman was talking about with One Newton. It's being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Right. The impact and legacy, that's going to be remembered longer than any given thing they produce out of there.
That's, and I'll be honest with you, it's the only reason I'm doing this job because it's politics is not fun at times, but my whole goal is in 10 years, I want to look back and say, man, we made a difference.
Right.
So Three Ring Studios is targeting production go live end of 2018, early 2019, right?
Yes, sir.
And they'll produce films, TV, everything?
Well, quick on the studio, one of the reasons it's called Three Ring is because it deals with movie productions, obviously in TV, movie productions, but also deals with music production. Mm-hmm. And if you know, the state just recently put in a new incentive for music production. And it also deals with gaming aspect.
Oh, so they're covering everything.
We are looking at being a one-stop shop.
And the tax credit, it hits all those now?
It's big. Yes.
Right. And that was kind of the first domino that made all this work, right?
Well, that's why earlier I said the state and the governors to be commended because
they created an industry out of thin air.
They created this opportunity. And the communities that latched onto that and understand that earlier, like Pinewood Studios and other, because we're not the only ones. We're just going to be the best.
So, again, huge win. Three Ring Studios is going to be just one more shot in both arms for Newton County. I want to shift gears a little bit because what makes all of these new wins and the current economic engine in Newton County work is workforce, right? So Commissioner Sims, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're talking in the warm-up conversation a bit about it's one thing to have a workforce in place to make things happen today, but all this growth, you've got to have things in place to grow that workforce and that workforce's capability. So you were sharing some of the things that Newton County is doing. Let's touch on that a bit.
Well, I guess about 8 years ago, our school system decided to move towards a career academy. And I thought that was a big change for our community to give kids that are not, I guess, college ready or want to go to college, give them an opportunity to have a trade, be able to have a skill, be able to come out of high school and get a job with a skill. So they have several different career paths that are changing the lives of young kids. I've talked to several families that even my own nephew went through the Career Academy. And
it's
now
Newton County Career Academy,
Newton
right?
County Career Academy.
Yep.
And
First in Georgia.
And, going through the Career Academy gave him the opportunity to see what he really wanted to do in life, and he wanted to be an engineer. But he got that first experience through the Career Academy. And, one belief I have that kids you can't dream or want to do anything if you've never been exposed to it. So getting those kids exposed to different career paths in 9th, 10th, 11th grade, I think sets them up for success. Like I said, my nephew, he's in college, about to graduate as a civil engineer, but he got that exposure at first through the Career Academy. Also, we have the German Apprenticeship Program that allows a small group of kids, I say kids, teenagers, to work with industry one-on-one, to give them that same opportunity to be able to leave high school with a career path and be able to start earning a good income right out of high school.
You've got 6 leading manufacturers participating in that German apprenticeship program. On that Career Academy, though, is it fair to say that other states are, after seeing what Georgia's done with that statewide, which started right here in Newton County, other states are trying to copycat it, right? Because of its success, right?
Definitely.
So what the Career Academy, what's tuition, or what does, how many students are coming through there annually, roughly?
600.
600 folks. Okay. That's at the high school level?
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
And I've toured that a couple of years back. It's amazing to see high school students operating 3D printers, right? And I can barely say the word, and they're over there producing parts and stuff. That's really cool. Healthcare tracks, manufacturing tracks. What are some other tracks in the
Culinary, engineering,
Firemen. I believe.
Firemen.
Early childhood.
Public safety type stuff.
Okay. All right. So let's also dive into the LEAP program. So some of the things, again, to quote Commissioner Sims and the team here, the Career Academy is having a big impact, workforce development, German apprenticeship program, but then the LEAP program, which is is newer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our good friends over at the Georgia Tech Supply Chain Logistics Institute, their partnership with J.P. Morgan and Schneider National created this Pathways program focused on logistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chairman Baines, we want to talk about the LEAP program a bit.
Sure. First, let me say I'm so happy that they brought this program to our community. To me, the LEAP program is a twofold program for economic development in our community. First of all, and I think which is the most important, it gives students, people, citizens in our community opportunity to have a chance. Some, it's like the mayor said earlier, some didn't finish high school, some don't have a GED. But to get a certificate with Georgia Tech stamp, that's major. That's major. And the other fold is that to have industries in our community that would accept that. And so that's why I say it's a twofold program. And we are so thankful that the LEAP program is there. Actually, we're so excited about it that the city and the county kind of teamed up to sponsor the last group of people that went through the program. So
I want to talk about that. So for our audience, just so we define the acronym here. So Logistics, Education, and Pathways. That's the LEAP program. And it's comprised of 4 main areas of training: supply chain management principles, number 1, warehousing operations, number 2, transportation operations, number 3, and customer service operations. So I love to see that in any kind of training program. And it's targeting the 16 to 24 demographic, veterans as well, especially first-termers. And as Chairman Baines said, it allows participants that successfully complete it to get a credential with Georgia Tech stamped on it, which is a terrific thing to add to anyone's background. So early on, so Chuck Easley, which we should all give a big high five to him, he's part of the Georgia Tech Supply Chain and Logistics Institute team, which is a mouthful. I need one more cup of coffee. Chuck early came out, met with the leadership team in Newton County. They were all in, drinking the Kool-Aid after the first conversation. And what's also neat with these types of programs we're talking about in the warm-up conversation is not only did you roll it out and it was there, which is a thing of beauty, but the response was overwhelming, right? Over 300 folks apply for 100 slots. Is that right, Chairman Baines?
that's right. That's right.
And that was for the first phase, which was 2017.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a city-county, again, back to collaboration, a city-county investment of time and resources and energy and leadership bandwidth, right?
Yes, sir. And I think it goes back to what the mayor said earlier. We're trying to get to 0% unemployment.
Mm.
How if, we preaching that, but we want to also stand behind that. So we wanted to, me and the mayor talking, we wanted to do something to let the citizens know that, hey, we want to invest in you, and so that you do have a possibility to attain a job. So
now, are you getting feedback from the students that this is the type of information they want? Because if they're dropping out of high school, there's some reason for that. Maybe they're bored or whatever. They're not being challenged in the way that they need to be challenged. Is this a program that they're embracing, that they're, are more and more kids wanting to participate in it? Are they seeing that, look, I got to get my act together. I got to find a path that resonates with me and works for me.
Yeah.
Like these alternative paths, other than every kid has to go to college. I mean, we all know that isn't really, that it's not one size fits all. There are other paths, and there should be a lot of different ways to challenge the kid to give them a chance at a good future.
Well, Chairman, but what's also very interesting, this is not about kids. I mean, there are stories of 48-year-old ladies that have, for whatever reason in their life, they're married, divorced. I mean, there's all sorts of situations.
So it's impacting people of all ages.
Absolutely. And in some cases, it's people that are in the workforce right now, but they also see it as an opportunity that could open up some more doors.
Right.
So it addresses a lot of things. I do want to say another, I thought was an interesting point, and it kind of takes us back to the collaboration part, because our school system is very integrated in everything we're talking about. For example, with LEAP, they actually opened up some of their classrooms and computer rooms to ensure that even if you were out there and you had no radio, you didn't have internet, we wanted to eliminate every excuse.
Right.
So you could come use that for free. So again, it goes back to that thought of us. One of our jobs is to create those opportunities and eliminate the excuses.
Right.
So everybody has that opportunity. And one more thing real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to say, because I just recently went through this and it blew my mind. We had a process that Sarah Hall and Tim Smith through our school system put together. I'm sure Dave was involved with it as well, but it was called Connect Newton, which our school system took a group of teachers after the school year was over, and I think groups of 4 put them in companies around our community, like Nashimbo. And I had the great opportunity, the honor to go and listen to after they've been there 3 days, these teachers, which are teaching our kids, their thoughts of this experience. And it blew my mind. One lady, bless her heart, she says, I've been here for 15 years in Newton County. I didn't even know what Nashimbo was.
Wow.
And then she starts talking about how that's really a cool company. They've got a great mission. It's great. She goes, I have already in my mind got kids that I know.
Right. It connects the dots. It helps them connect the dots of how all this works, instead of they're in their silo and they only know what they know because that's all they're around. And now they're exposed to different things and they're going, hey, this would work good for this person, or this is an opportunity, but they don't even know what they don't know. So having them immerse themselves in industry, I think, is valuable.
How'd y'all come up with the name?
That's Dave Byrne.
Connect Newton.
That's Dave Byrne.
The branding genius there.
One last thing, and I promise I'll stop talking, because another issue which I think is important for people to wrap their head around is that we realized if we were really going to try to make a difference, we had to get down into the elementary school level.
Right.
We had some kids. We had a couple of schools where in the first grade we had, in this particular, and this is real data, we had 26 of those kids in first grade that were 2 or 3 grades below in reading.
In first grade.
Yes.
They're already
when you
2 or 3
study,
behind.
that's first grade.
So they're behind at go.
And here's the deal. Based on all the studies we've studied, if you don't get that correct by 3rd grade, they're done.
Right.
So here we were trying to figure out, we got to rethink this.
This is really a life or death situation here.
That's right.
I mean, it should be treated like triage in the emergency
This is
room.
how you stop generational poverty.
Right.
Because what we did was all of a sudden we came up with a program, and again, collaborated with the county, collaborated with the school system, and we sent employees from the city of Covington, went weekly for 1 hour with these kids, and we tutored them. We did flashcards.
So this is the politicians or government
politicians, government workers.
Or is it industry too?
Now we're growing, because our goal now is to have this in every elementary school, and there's 13 of them. Clarion, for example, is wanting to take one whole school themselves.
Wow. Right.
And we're measuring the data and performance. And in this particular case, after 3 weeks, those kids, majority of them jumped 2 levels.
Right. And so it's one of these things where it doesn't take a lot. It just takes something. And if everybody would just do a little bit, it would have a huge impact.
Absolutely.
So let me dive in here real quick.
This is good for you, Scott.
Oh, it's great.
This is supply chain 101 here.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we're going to touch on supply chain 101 because Newton counties were early adopters for what we're doing in elementary schools. But back to LEAP, want to give a big shout out Chuck Easley, Carol Bennett, Mike Connor, and Tim Brown, which are all with Georgia Tech. And then JP Morgan obviously is huge, but Chad Moten with JP Morgan, he came out for Supply Chain 101 at Livingston Elementary. And he was a big part of why JP Morgan made this investment and made things like LEAP possible, putting their money where their mouth is, and it's
where
not
the
lip
need
service,
is.
where the need is. Yeah, even better. Thank you, Lee. That's
Very, very well put.
Yeah. So big thanks to JP Morgan, and hopefully we're going to see phase 2 in that investment, which I think is in our consideration now. And of course, Schneider National, got to give those folks a big high five too. Okay, so Connect Newton, great program. Seems like it continues to add to the momentum. Right, getting educators out into our manufacturing plants, huh? And great to hear Clarion. Big shout out to Ted Rushworth and Tim Phillips, who I spoke to this week. It's good to see them getting involved, as they always have been in Newton County, and educating our next generation, right? So Supply Chain 101. So I want to talk about this for a second, because when we kicked this off last November, it's similar to LEAP. You had this great program, but you had to figure out, okay, where are we going to do it, right? And so on the short list on my bat phone, as we took the cake cover off to pick up the red receivers, it was a call to Dave Byrne. And Dave and Sarah Phillips and Tim Schmidt, they all said, hey, love it. Let's figure out how to help expand the pilot in Newton County. So a few months later, we went out, took a team of volunteers out to Fairview Elementary and Livingston Elementary. Going back to what Commissioner Sims was talking about, how you can't dream if you don't know, right? You got to expose these ideas and expose these opportunities to our members of the next generation. So we basically take that idea, put a PowerPoint together, imagine that, and go into schools and spend an hour really defining what Supply Chain 101 is, and talking about some well-known companies that use supply chain, and talking about different career opportunities, not just, and there's nothing wrong with the traditional supply chain practitioner. That fuels the economy and it fuels the country. But as we all know, supply chain's changing. Now we're competing for these technologists, right? These cool jobs. Back to the Facebook idea. You've got to have technology know-how within supply chain these days to make it happen, especially in the global economy. So anyway, big thanks to Sarah and Tim. So taking these teams out and to see these light bulbs go off. And with Supply Chain 101, it's all about defining what supply chain is. But these kids, when we first rolled this out, and we've done this now in 8 schools, 24 sessions, engaged 630 third and fourth, fifth graders, they get this stuff quick. So within 10 minutes, they're already value stream mapping and applying this whole holistic cycle to everything they know. So it's been very rewarding, and it looks like we're going to be expanding it in a new school year in Newton County. So really appreciate y'all's progressive approach at bringing in outsiders, and because it's all for the kids, right?
Because the kids are impacted by supply chain, whether they know it or not. So you're just educating them on how it impacts them and how they can participate in it. Because so many kids are consumers of all of this technology and all these resources, but they don't understand they could be creators and actually be part of the production of it as well.
Yep. Yeah. The other little thing, if I could add, is our school system always, I think it was one of the first, and Dave may technically speak to this more than I could, but when you look at the STEM process and that getting into our schools, I think the next 3 or 4 years, we'll have that STEM training in every elementary in Newton County.
Right.
Which is I think we're the first one certified, or the Career Academy was the first STEM certification for the state. So that, again, we're trying to make sure we have all the pieces in place to, again, get to those big, massive goals.
But that's the thing. Historically, government has been behind, but the speed in which technology is changing and disrupting it, we can't afford as a society to keep that going.
That's right.
They have to be at least equal, or if not ahead, in order for progress really to be made. Because what's going to happen, these disruptions are going to occur, and the people who aren't educated are going to fall behind faster. At a speed as fast as technology is moving forward, they're going to fall behind at the same speed.
Yep. So I'm very partisan. I've got a Newton County tattoo because I believe in what y'all have been doing for years now in kind of my neck of the woods. I live out in Walton County. Have been collaborating with different aspects of Newton County for a couple of years now. Y'all making time out and, driving into Atlanta and sharing. We want to put a spotlight on this because, again, it's not about government being an obstacle and government, slowing business down and regulation and governance. It's about, you're really a catalyst for this growth and a huge resource for not just entrepreneurs, but established businesses that are looking to invest billions of dollars which helps what we're after, which is providing opportunities for all, right? I hate to throw this question out, but what's next? I mean, this is a ton. Most counties are very jealous of what Newton County's doing, but we're not at the finish line. So what's next?
All right, who's going to be bold?
You want me to tell you? Well, I'll just say real quick before I pass on to the chairman that the big movement that we have going on right now is, they call it the halo effect. It's everything from chains to small businesses to, we have entrepreneurs coming into our town because the opportunity, they
Right.
can smell it, they can see it. Quick little story. We had a lady come in and start doing tours in our town for the movies. And she takes
Like
people
the tour around to say
where
this
the
was
shots
filmed
were.
here, this is from this scene.
The Titan accident happened here. And
Right.
this is where the vampire bit somebody. I mean,
I
that
bet
whole
that
thing.
didn't exist 10 years ago, right?
No, but I celebrate this because that is where the entrepreneurship spirit comes
Right.
into play, because she's charging $55 a head and she's averaging 700 of these people a month.
Hey, sounds like
Do
a
the math. I
business.
believe that's over 30 grand. So it's like, wow. But that's what's happening in our community now. So
Right.
it's not, we have these great industry partners, and now we're layering in with retail, with entrepreneurs, with even homes and
Right.
development and apartments. And that kind of gets me back to why I did ask you that question, but it's those type things. So we have, and what's important now is the community leaders stick together, because we have an opportunity to change the face of
Right.
our whole community and take it to a whole nother level.
But that goes to saying that you can create the structure and the infrastructure for this to occur, but it's those unintended consequences that you don't know about, where all of a sudden this created a job and a career for this lady out of the blue because she's creative in leveraging what's happening there.
Right. Absolutely.
You don't want to get in her way.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to stun y'all around this table, but actually, technically, Covington right now has 2 of the top restaurants in Atlanta. It's true. One's called the Mystic Grill, and one is called City Pharmacy. Thank you. City Pharmacy. And that is a true statement. And it's interesting because right now in our town, there are cars coming from Atlanta to have an evening, because it is a special thing. I mean, you go back in time, and we've got great services, great quality, great people. And that's one of the things that we are going to protect and do everything
Right.
we can to keep that together.
So as a father of 3 small kids, I think the great thing about the Covington Square and the city of Monroe's got something similar, and some of the other small towns, you can go and park. You can get the kids out and walk on the sidewalks, go and get something to eat, and walk into the shops and the stores. And it's something that is it's easy, it's safe, it's enjoyable. And Covington's got the formula down. So, and the City Pharmacy, this is a new one. Has it been around for a while? I haven't been here yet.
It's been open, I think, about maybe a year. Not even that much.
But 6 months.
About 6
Okay.
months. But
It's on the to-do list. My wife Amanda's already texted me. Hey, we're going there next weekend.
It's a great place, and that's kind of an example of our community now is starting to attract
Right.
all
The
sorts of
chefs
different
and-
talents now.
Right.
Because we got people in the movies that live here, that they
gotta
brought into
eat.
the community. They got to eat. They enjoy the community. And many years ago, I had the opportunity at different chambers and things to talk about Covington. And I would actually say, we are going to compete directly with Atlanta. And people would smirk and laugh. And there's some things we can never be like Atlanta on. They're a great partner for us. But there's some uniqueness about our town you cannot duplicate anywhere.
And you don't
that's
have
what we're
to-
trying to develop and continue moving forward.
But that's the beauty of where we live. You don't have to compete with them. You can collaborate with them and use the kind of center of gravity that they bring to the table to your advantage.
Absolutely.
And then to say, hey, you like Atlanta, we're close to Atlanta, get the best of both worlds by being here.
That's it.
So
Just like we talked to industry, we say, well, we got one of the busiest ports in the world. It's right down here.
Right.
And there's one of the busiest
The
airports
airport's
right down there.
Exactly.
And by the way, if you really are a go-getter, we have our own airport. We'll actually fly you to Atlanta Airport. And, because I think Oprah Winfrey one time did fly into our airport. So it's kind of cool.
So we laugh about that, but I'll tell you, when I was working with a manufacturer in Newton County, we met a growing manufacturer that we could supply business to at a trade show. They flew into the airport in Newton County, came and toured our plant. And I'll tell you, not long after that, we had a multi-million-dollar contract. So we laugh about the it's an economic engine. The airport, the proximity to the interstate, being able to pull people in, show what you can do, and then sit down and close business. It's invaluable.
Right. And the fact that you're not Atlanta is an advantage.
Right.
That's true.
For some companies, that's an advantage.
Yes. I'm not sure I should say it that way, but yes. But I will say one thing. This is just another example where this community is continuously trying to stay ahead of business in many ways. We are in the process. We just finished a brand new terminal for our airport. We're taking it to I think it's a C2 rated airport, which our runway is 6,200 feet long, 100 feet wide. We are wanting to make sure we stay competitive.
Stay ahead. You got to stay ahead.
So it puts us in the same category as Peachtree DeKalb Airport.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
There last night, the 57th Fighter Group restaurant, which is really neat. So we talked about what's next a little bit. Let's pull it back. Let's pull this last question in. So we're June 2018. We're about halfway through. What are y'all going to look back and think of this from a supply chain and manufacturing standpoint, a workforce standpoint? Finish this sentence for me. 2018 will be successful if blank.
Let me say this. And this kind of speaking on what you was talking about, technology and being in the elementary schools. I got up this morning, probably about 6:30. My wife was up and she was having a cup of coffee. She said, I have a 7-year-old. I have 5 kids, but I have a 7-year-old.
Wow. I got 3. I can't whine to you.
Yeah. Woo. But but so she was having a cup of coffee and she said, Bailey, which is my youngest daughter, she's 7. She said she has something she wants you to do and she has it. Have you been in her room? I said, no, I ain't been in her room. So I went down the hall and when I got there on the door, it said, Dad, figure this out. So she had created, she had taped some kind of way, she had taped a coin, a penny on the door. And she said, figure out how to, she had engineered something. She said, figure out how to get me out the room. And so I'm looking at it. I'm like, wow. And I say that to say this, at that young of an age. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I'm saying about what you guys, Supply Chain 101 and LEAP programs, different things like that to affect to start out at a age to be in elementary school and to start putting that type of effect on a child's life. Man, it's amazing.
Right, because those problem solving, critical thinking, those are the skills that the next group needs.
Yeah, I totally agree. 2018.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, what are you high-fiving at the end of the year?
If we can finish off 1 Newton, if we can take 1 Newton to a different level, it'll be great for our community. Because right now, the vibe, I'm gonna be honest with you, the vibe in Newton County, City of Covington, Newton County, whichever one you want to say, because of the 3 Ring Studios, because of Shire, because of Facebook, the vibe is amazing. You're always going to have your naysayers. You know, I don't want to.
There's always challenges.
Yeah, you're always going to have people that, but the overall vibe in our community is amazing.
Right, you want to keep the momentum.
You want to keep it going, and that's what I think. We have had so much, I don't want to say too much, but we don't have so much interest in different industries come to our community. Man, it's amazing. Mm. And so for me, just pushing 1 Newton to another level.
Continuing to elevate this momentum we have.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Not just 1 Newton, but also all the successes, right? Mm-hmm. And as well as building on the collaboration that we've seen for years now.
Yes, sir.
Mayor.
Well, I'm a kind of competitive guy. I like to win and win a lot. And my goal is I want to maintain this lowest unemployment rate in the state of Georgia. I want to continue that movement and maintain it.
That's 3.7% as of now, down from 12% just a couple of years ago.
From 2012, yeah.
Wow.
And then what do they consider full employment? What?
3.5. 3.5. Now, and I'm aware that the math and all that kind of stuff, you know, I'm never going to get to zero type thing. But really comes down to we got 106,000 people in Newton County, and everyone that's capable of working or capable of having a job, want to get them a job. And my goal is to keep the focus on moving that forward, as well as continually try to brand this community from a one Newton standpoint because the next phase that's getting ready to hit us is some critical decisions we're getting ready to make.
Right.
We got housing, we got apartment complexes. And if we don't have the standards right for that, we want to ensure that we focus on that to make sure we get the best outcome. And so people of all diversities, of all levels of income and careers have the opportunity and the options to be successful. I look at our job as we create opportunities,
right?
With our partners in business.
Opportunities for all too.
And it's opportunities for everybody.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at it from all different levels. I think that somebody told me the first person Facebook hired is a salary of over $350,000.
Wow.
So we stretched our.
That's a lot of city pharmacy. A lot of city pharmacy.
Yeah, that allowed us to stretch our portfolio of opportunities. So it's a good thing.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chairman Bain. So, Commissioner Sims, same question to you. 2018 is going to be successful if blank.
Well, I wish it was a simple answer. I've been elected a little longer than the mayor and the chairman.
Since 2012, is that right?
Yes, and you normally don't see county and cities working together. You don't see a lot of governments working together for one common goal. As I stated earlier, I do a lot of studying of history and quotes, and I ran across one I think that sums up what the chairman and the mayor were talking about. And it's one from Henry Ford. And it starts out, coming together is the beginning. And starting with 1 Newton was the beginning. Right now, we're at the staying together is progress. And that's where we are right now. We're hoping to keep this moving, keep this momentum going forward. And if we keep going forward, the end of the quote says, and working together is success. So I don't think we've quite reached success yet. We've landed Shire. We've landed Facebook. I mean, by any other county and city, that would be a huge success.
Sure.
But I think we're just scratching the surface. And if we stay together and stay the course, we will get there. So my biggest thing for 2018 is staying together. Continue that movement, continue that momentum, get our citizens more involved, and I think we can get to our ultimate goals.
Well, and let me say something.
Sure,
let me piggyback off of what he said, because honestly, Newton County has seen success before. I mean, with General Mills, with Bridgestone, with SKC, with Nashimbo, and to me, that's a lot of success in the community. But can we stay there, or can we move forward? Can we take it to another level? I think that's where we need to be at. That's
right. You've seen what success looks like. You've seen how it can help some people. Now you're trying to see if it can help everybody.
Yep. Well, I think that's part of the special thing that's coming out of Newton County is it's not just about landing a great company.
Right.
You definitely need that, but it's about the fact that we're trying to flip and move forward an entire community.
Right.
And leveraging those relationships and those partnerships so everybody.
Right. So no one's left behind.
Nobody's left behind.
Right.
And really trying to pay attention to what all that means.
And being mindful of that and putting things in place to ensure that everyone is.
And I truly believe that is the difference.
That's success, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when you're changing the definition of success to include everybody, not just a handful of people.
Yep. That's the magic in the bottle that I think we have. Whether it was by accident or whatever, we got it. We need to keep doing it.
And I know you're acting and leading very deliberately, and you're acting and leading very differently than how business is done. And that's a big part from my perspective of why we're seeing all the success. And as you sit here, you're not sitting on laurels. You're talking about opportunities and what's next, and to ensure there's truly opportunity for all.
And it's not just lip service; it's action.
Right. And we all hate lip service. We all that's certainly a common thread in all these conversations.
Let me say one thing.
Because it is about supply chain, right? There's no lip service doesn't work.
Totally agree. But what's interesting is this community and this leadership has transcended beyond the liberal, the Republic, the Democrat, the conservative. We're working together.
Right.
Everybody's got different thoughts. I actually cannot stand people to be around me with the exact same thoughts. I want somebody to challenge me. I want
Exactly.
new ideas. But the common thread is we want everybody to go in the right direction and have opportunities.
Right.
So that's what pulls us together, and it's been real refreshing because I have people come to me and says, "What are you, Republican or Democrat?" I said, "I don't know. I do know one thing.
Who's got time to talk about that?
I'm trying to move this community forward
Right.
and have great opportunity for everybody. And I think to have that is what is special about
Right.
Newton
Focus
County.
on the common ground, move the ball so everybody wins. It doesn't matter where you are.
Amen.
It doesn't sound that complicated, does it?
Well spoken. Well spoken. So we want to give a big thanks again to Mayor Ronnie Johnston, City of Covington, for joining us. Chairman Marcello Baines. I keep wanting to say Barnes. Chairman Marcello Baines, Board of Commissioners, Newton County, for joining us. Commissioner Lanier Sims, District 2, Board of Commissioners. And, of course, Dave Byrne, Vice President of Economic Development for Newton County, for helping make all this happen. So great partners, a special story happening right here, just 30 minutes from Atlanta. Looking forward to having y'all back in, maybe this time next year, and figuring out what's next beyond that. So, Lee, I want to finish on a couple final items here. Next up.
Are you coming in tomorrow?
2 days this week's been a lot. I tell you what. Next up on Supply Chain Now Radio, we're going to be featuring Team One Logistics CEO Paige Siplon and Sunny Delight's Vice President Kevin Singletary, and that's in a couple weeks. Got a lot of webinars on tap: reverse logistics, lip service leadership, which is going to be an interesting subject matter, gender pay gap IQ, which is always an interesting topic, and much, much more. To find out additional details on those webinars or the upcoming shows, you can go to apexatlanta.org. We should thank our sponsors, Apex Atlanta, which has been serving the Metro Atlanta community for and outside the Metro Atlanta community for almost 60 years. They are helping to fuel the Supply Chain 101 initiative, which has been Newton County has been a great partner on, and Talent Stream. So if you're looking for talent in the engineering, manufacturing, supply chain space, check us out at talentstreamstaffing.com. Lee, what did we miss today?
I think you got it covered. I think this is a show that is very important to not only about supply chain, but for governments to they're role modeling how government can work, and the public and private collaboration can make such a huge difference to everybody. So bravo to you for doing this. And Scott, we appreciate you for making Supply Chain Now Radio happen. I mean, it couldn't happen without Apex Atlanta and Talent Stream and your efforts once a month, twice a month now.
All the bad dad jokes, right? Couldn't make it happen.
Well, thank you. This is Lee Cantor and Katie Galley. We'll see you all next time on Supply Chain Now Radio.